friends, welcome back to part 2 of this wonderful little waterfall. I hope you've enjoyed part 1. We're doing very well. We're going to move down the canvas and get the rest of the waterfall finished and finish the painting. I hope it turns out quite well. So I hope you're enjoying my first tutorial of 2026. It's a pleasure, an absolute pleasure to paint for you. I hope you're learning something, even something small. Techniques, colour mixing, that kind of thing, drawing. I hope you're learning something. That's my goal at the end of the day. So thank you very much for watching, if you are watching, and subscribed. Thank you so much. Let's carry on with part 2. I'll be right back. Okay, so this is it. I have given this bottom half a very light coat of linseed oil again, just the same as part 1. Regular thinners will do just fine also, whichever you have, just to give it a quick kind of an undercoat and to help the paint move around a bit better. Okay, let's have a go. There's the reference photograph. I'm going to start filling in again all the dark greens, so the very same as part 1, all those dark greens, let's just start filling those in. Let's make a nice rich green. I'm going to take lamp black and cadmium yellow with a tiny touch of blue, a tiny touch of blue. This may look a very blacky kind of a green now, but we need a very dark green. Okay, let's just pop that in. I'm kind of starting off with slightly thin mixes. They're not very thick. It's, I suppose it's probably similar to a kind of a texture of cream, a kind of a thin double cream sort of a feeling. Okay, that kind of a texture, that's my mix. Now, we can, as we're going along, we can change colours and add colour. So a bit more of a yellowy, kind of a warm shade of green here. I think, looking at the photograph, I'm just going to fill all of this in with this dark green. Okay, I think that's probably the best course of action. Fill all of this in. Just be very free now with this, very loose. Don't be too particular with all of this, all right? And don't put too much pressure on yourself now either, trying to get everything right, okay? Don't, you know, it's a bit of fun. We're supposed to be learning, not, you know, being tough on ourselves. So let's just have a bit of fun. Take a bit more blue. Let's put a bit more of a bluey shade. Again, in around the kind of the sides of the painting are very dark, aren't they? So let's get a very dark colour in around the sides. Very blacky green I have here. I'm going to put that in, bring it down, and just kind of leave it disappear outwards then again. Down around the bottom here, I'm going to just take a bit of burnt umber. I'm going to pop a little bit of burnt umber down there. There's a couple of rocks and stuff like that, but they're in the darkness, aren't they? So a very deep kind of a dark brown sort of a colour, and just leave it all mixed through then. So you're getting, again, you're getting different shades of the colour. Let's go over to this side. I'm going to kind of go around here, and I'm going to come down like that, at that kind of an angle. I think that's about right, isn't it? Let's have a look at, get some paint on this and see. Okay, let's go up here. I find, you see, for me, when I'm painting, it's probably the wrong way to do it. I'm no expert, by no means, but I generally like to put on a very dark green and then work my highlights on top of that, because if you put on a lighter green and then you try and put on darks over it, it's just more difficult. It's a lot more difficult going from light to dark than it is from dark to light. It's much easier to lighten shades than it is to kind of put darker shades over light. Alright, we have that filled in. Nice big dark spot down here, so let's take some black, some phthalo blue. Let's pop that in there. Nice rich dark colour, that's nice. And the bit of blue in this will just make it look like a very deep dark green anyway. And you don't have to worry about softening all these brush strokes out either, okay? I'll take some black and some burnt umber and put a bit of that down here for the rocky area, just again to get those darks in for the rocks. I can take a bit of black and I can go like this just to get the darks in for the rocks again here. You see, I'm just sort of putting in shades in certain areas. That's all I'm doing. So now we have that done, we can start putting in some foliage. We have a nice kind of a soft green foliage over here in the deep kind of corner in the recess. Let's try a kind of a deep bluey foliage for that. A little bit of Naples yellow, a little bit of Phaylo blue, a little bit of cadmium yellow. That's a nice kind of it's a nice deep shade. Now, you could kind of mess around with this. A little bit of white perhaps. I'm going to hold the corner of the canvas here now just so it's not bouncing around, okay? And I'm going to go up here and just start giving a little hint of those deep colours inside there, look. A bit more blue perhaps. A shadowy green colour will have almost always a kind of a bluey undertone to it. So I'm just going to start with a sort of a bluey green colour first. Go up into the top to merge them together then, you see. So you're bringing one into the other and it's tying them both together. Okay, just like that. Now, let's make it a bit more greeny. And all I'm doing is picking up a bit of cadmium yellow, a little bit of Naples yellow. And that's just brightening the green slightly, you see, to make it that bit more greeny. This is just a mass of foliage really, isn't it? So I'll go now into some cadmium yellow and some white, and as it comes out I'm going to start brightening that colour. And you see it's just mixing with the colours that are there. That's fine. Don't try and get this right first time. It'll take a while for all these colours to kind of come out of themselves. So the very same as what we did on top. We're just going to work away with these shades for a while. A bit of Naples yellow, a bit of cadmium yellow, and we can try that again. You probably will have to do this a few times to get this right, to be able to get the colour you want to sit on top of the paint, because of course this is oils and the wet layer is finding it difficult to stick to the wet layer underneath. So the top layer is kind of not sticking properly to the one underneath. So that's just, it comes with practice really. Let's get a bit of this rich sort of a yellow in down around here as well. That'll give us a bit of richness to the foliage. Now I'll clean my brush. Just give it a quick clean. Get most of the dark colour off of the brush. And let's go right into some cadmium yellow on its own. And let's go in here and just give that a couple of taps. Now I am going to go a bit bright with my greens. I'm going to take some Phaylo blue, cadmium yellow and plenty of white. And I'm going to just start getting some brighter greens in around there. And remember, we also have our palette knife, so we can use that as well to create more defined colours, okay? I'm going to grab some Phaylo blue for my palette and let's go again. Let's just keep dabbing away until we feel we have what we need. So let's get a nice bright, again a nice bright kind of a green, and let's come right out here with that, bring it across and up. So let's just start giving a little bit of shape to some of this foliage. And we've the same down around here. We've bits of light catching. I will be putting thicker paint over these later on. So this is just kind of, I'm preparing for my palette knife later, you see. That's all I'm doing. I'm just getting ready, preparing. Let's come over here and start doing a bit of dabbing over around this side. Again, we go into our yellow. That will make it a little bit more green. I will get some more defined looking leaves with my palette knife and even my fan brush later down here, okay? This is just really filling in sort of the background foliage. So when we look through all those leaves that we have with the palette knife, you'll see this nice foliage type of effect in behind. That's the only reason for this. Let's go up here and kind of continue this one down. So you can see what I mean? We're kind of bringing it down, and I'm going to leave everything fall down into the center. So everything is coming downwards, okay? That's drawing your eye into the center of the painting, right into the water. So that's what you're doing really. Just dab, 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 dab. That's all it is, with a very rough brush. Just make sure you're enjoying this. This is very important. You have to kind of enjoy what you're doing with this. Leave it disappear into the darkness, look. And by the way, if you're more comfortable using a fan brush, use a fan brush. I just like using this brush sometimes. It gives a nice effect, so that's the only reason I'm using this brush. I'm going to try a fan brush now, actually. I'm going to grab a fan brush, some tissue. Let's get a nice bright, whitey, greeny sort of a hue. Okay, phthalo blue, cadmium yellow, and a bit of white. And I'm going to just kind of start putting on something with a bit more definition. Okay, you see that? Just a little bit more. Okay, we can come down and we can kind of just put a few here and there. I'm thinking the palette knife will do a much better job in getting these more solid ones into the painting, okay? This is all just very loose, just for now. I think I'll go to my palette knife and maybe try a couple of little bits with that. Okay, let's get some cadmium yellow, nice rich cadmium yellow on our palette knife, and let's just put a couple of little flicks here and there. Kind of continue this bush right down into the painting, okay? We can put a few around the place like that. I'm just trying different things now with my knife just to get different types of effects. And that's really what most of painting is. Just kind of try different things to see what kind of effect you get. Let's try cadmium yellow, bit of white. Let's just try and get some thicker sort of leaves and stuff like that down in here. But at the same time, I'm not trying to make this very sort of abstract, or not abstract, I'm not trying to make it like a photograph. I love these types of paintings where it's just a nice impression. That's the type of stuff that I really enjoy doing. Right, I'm going to stop at that. I'm going to go up to the other side now and do a bit of that as well. And we can also use pointy detail brushes and that kind of stuff. So we still have a lot that we can do. Let's get some white, yellow, a bit of blue again. And let's just pop some more defined leaves in here and there, just as if they're catching the light. Bit of yellow, bit of sienna perhaps. That will give us a nice warm kind of a feeling. And you see, what I'm going to do then in a moment is I am going to soften a lot of this in with my soft blender brush. But what I'm trying to do here is kind of catch the light. I just want to catch the light in certain parts. I'm using very little paint for this. I'm just using, you know, the bare minimum of paint on all of this. Now, we can try a different palette knife. We can go for something a little more kind of rounded. You could try something a little more rounded as well. Just get a bit of green on that, a bit of white. So blue, yellow and a bit of white. Gives us a nice little green. And we can also do it like this. Remember, it's all just a bit of fun. Now I'll then take my soft brush and I kind of very gently soften them back into that deep corner, that deep dark kind of a corner over there. Because I don't want to see much detail in the corners. I just want it to be nice and sort of dark and almost disappearing up into the darkness. Now we'll walk away on more of that later. I want to carry on and I want to do a couple of, I think maybe a few rocks or something like that. Let's take a bit of rock colour. Let's get some black, white, a bit of Naples yellow. That gives you a lovely grey. It gives you the most gorgeous grey colour. Let's put a hint of some rock in here and there. It's only just about showing. A bit of burnt umber, a bit of black towards the end. And then we can just go black in down around here. You see, I'm mixing with a bit of white. That's on my brush as well. That's quite nice. I like that. This will be very dark and moody down in this corner. So just kind of soften the darks into the greens. Just create the impression of those rocks disappearing. We could put one or two here as well. Just coming up that side there. And then what I'm going to do, take my palette knife, my flat palette knife, I'm going to add a bit of light into those. Naples yellow, burnt sienna. You could even just use those colours. And again, it's just to suggest a little bit of highlight on the rocks here and there, look. And you see a lot of this is going to disappear back into the painting later on. So I'm not too concerned, really. I'm not very concerned about getting rocks perfect. This is all just an impression. Try a bit of green. Put a hint of a green on them as well. And then I'm going to take my fan brush and I'm going to cut in front of those rocks with some foliage. Just a little bit of foliage. A nice rich, bright, greeny foliage. And I just have to cut in front of those rocks with some of that foliage there, look. To help them just kind of blend back into the painting. I'm just doing all this now very loosely. And I'm going to darken the colour then. I'm going to go a bit darker with my shade. You see, I'm just dabbing very loosely, letting my fan brush do the work. And there we have a little impression of some rocks, just showing through the foliage here and there. How about we do some water, my friends? I think you'd like to see me paint some water. Let's have a go. I'm going to take a small flat brush. Again, I'm going to mix a nice deep blue for the base coat of this. Maybe burnt umber and a bit of phthalo blue. Let's just kind of mess around with this colour now for a while. Burnt umber, bit of phthalo blue. We have a nice greeny sort of a blue then. I'm just going to fill in very loosely. Just fill it all in. Remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. A lot of this is going to be covered. Now, a bit more burnt umber. And we'll try a bit of black. We can put a bit of black in around the darker spots, and we'll just drag some black in, especially as it comes down to the bottom. I want this very deep colour. When I'm painting the waterfalls like this, I generally kind of start with a dark colour underneath, a bit of magenta perhaps, and then that way my lighter shades will cover it really nice. I'm going to go up here like that, and I'm going to bring them down into the centre. Like so. Okay. Now, let's soften. Let's soften this together very gently. We already have some of the marks that we need from our brush, you see, and the direction. So, that looks quite nice. I'm just wondering, do I need to go a little bit darker? Maybe I do, just towards the bottom. I'll try a bit of deep purple. A deep kind of a pinky purple would be nice down there, I think. Again, it's all trial and error. A lot of this is trial and error. Just to see what happens, you know what I mean? Okay, let's soften that back in. Now we have that done. Next, again, we could use, we've lots of different brushes we can use for all of this. I'm inclined to go back to this thicker big brush I have. Or now we could even use a fan brush as well, actually. Should we try a fan brush? Come on, my friends, let's try a fan brush. I grab a nice clean fan brush. I'm going through huge amounts of tissue paper with all this green. Okay, a fan brush. Let's get some phthalo blue. And lots and lots and lots of white. Now, I'm just going to try it and see if it doesn't work. We can kind of change our approach. Remember, trial and error. We're just trying to see if it does kind of go the way we want it to go. We will just take our time. Okay, I'm going to go up now and I'm going to put a little bit of mist up on top of that. That will just merge everything together for me. Just for now. Okay, like so. And I can always put some of that colour up on the top one as well, if we like. Just because it looks finished doesn't mean it has to be finished. We can go back over it with more colour. Okay, so let's start kind of finding our roots and where the water is coming through. Okay? Finding our roots. Get some direction with this water. Don't forget, just keep your brush nice and clean. A bit more white on the brush. And just have some fun, my friends. Simple as that. I can't really say any more other than just try and have a bit of fun with all of this. Get nice thick white paint on your brush. It's going to mix with the colours already there anyway, and it's going to create different shades. Go back up there and grab plenty of white. It's nice and bright over here. I'm going to do that with the palette knife in a moment. Get some of the brighter highlights with the palette knife, you see. Okay? Now, there we are. We have where it sort of changes a little bit down here. I'm going to just go like this. That's not a bad little effect, is it? Let's put another one here. let's just mess around with this for a while. And let's put another one here. So different little falls where they're coming down. Now we've that much done, I'm going to go up and I'm going to just add a bit more blue into the one up on top, just to try and kind of bring the composition together a bit better, colour wise. You see what I mean? Just a little bit more blue. Now I think that looks a bit better, doesn't it? I'm going to go to my palette knife. So my palette knife with the sharp edge, the straight edge, let's go with that. Make sure it's nice and clean first. I'm going to go right into some white, and I'm simply going to just grab the canvas and just drag this down. I'm going to just try it. What's the worst that can happen? And at the end of the day, it is only paint, isn't it? That's all it is. It's only a little bit of paint. And let's go a bit more here, look. And we can come down here with another one, just make that nice and long. And I'm allowing the grain of the canvas, you see, to drag this paint off for me. And it's creating a nice little effect up there. Isn't it? I think that's coming on quite nice. Let's go here. Do the same with this one. It just gives you a lovely little texture when you do this, I find. It almost gives your waterfall a bit of a kind of a sparkle, doesn't it? I'm going to just come across here another little bit. So there could be like a step, it could step out and then it can come over here then again like that. It's difficult to get the bottom piece down here because it's hitting my easel. So it's difficult to get the knife down inside there. Now, we have a nice bit done on this, don't we? I'm going to grab my medium brush. I'm going to put some rocks in around here and there. Let's get some black and some brown, and let's just go like this. Nice big rocks. And we could have another one. Let's put one up here. Let's go up around here, look. Let's put a little rock or two, just to break up the waterfall. Okay, just a little bit, just to break it up slightly. Then I grab a little flat brush and I pop a little bit of highlight on those. Grab a bit of burnt sienna with some Naples yellow. And let's just pop a little bit of a highlight on some of those here and there, look. It's only just to give a little impression that there's a bit of a highlight on them. A small impression, that's all. We can use a palette knife for a lot of that as well. Even pick up a bit of green. You can put a little highlight with a hint of a green on the palette knife, you see. I'm just touching it here and there, that's all. And then we just need to sit those down in the water again. So I'll just grab my fan brush, give it a good clean, and I'll go right up into some white up here. And I'm going to just kind of flick in front of those rocks. Okay, let's go along, soften along the top, very gently. And I need to get a small pointy brush. Where is my small pointy brush? There's always one brush that you can't find, isn't there? There it is. It's always the one that you need that you can't find. Always. I'll just put a couple of little wiggles like that. Okay, then we have to just bring our foliage into that water. So we need to sit the water back. So our foliage needs to come out in front of that water just a little bit. Let's get some cadmium yellow, a bit of Naples yellow, and let's catch it where it's nice and light. Where the light could be hitting the foliage, we'll just come along and pop a little bit of that down. We can do the same, let's go up here and do the same over in this corner here. Let's just try and keep this nice and simple. Now we don't have to go crazy with detail in this. I'm just popping a little bit of it out here and there, just to make the edge kind of nice and rough. It doesn't have to be a perfectly straight edge. Okay, you see what I mean? So I'm cutting in front of the waterfall. That's all I'm doing. We can come down and pop a little bit over those rocks. And, you know, it's completely up to ourselves now how far we would like to go with all of this. It's up to yourself. If you want to stop, you can stop. If you're having fun, just keep at it. Keep going. But just be careful. It's difficult to know when to stop with these types of paintings. You can overdo this very, very quickly. I just need to put some extra foliage just in one part over here. I'm going to get some yellow and some blue. I'm just going to kind of cut out into the waterfall just here. With that. And I might do the same, maybe just here and there. I know there are only small little differences, but these small differences will make a difference. Just small little hints of shapes. That's all it is, hints of shapes. Let's just call it that. Little suggestions of shapes, that's all. And by doing that, you're giving the impression that there's a lot of detail in the painting, but you know yourself, it's only just little dabs of colour with your palette knife or your fan brush or whatever it is. You know it's only just dabs of colour, which gives the impression that you put a lot of detail into your paintings. Now, I'm quite happy with all of this. We could stop, and you know what, maybe I should stop, but something is telling me just to put a couple of nice bright highlights in here and there to show the light catching in certain spots. Something is telling me, something is pushing me to kind of keep going. I don't know what it is, but it's probably a big mistake now, going at this like this. So I think maybe it's time for me to stop. Let me just get some warmth. I just want to get a bit of warmth in here and there. See that little warm colour? That will just catch your eye. Maybe a touch of it over here, touch of it up there. And I'm going to stop at that, my friends. I'm quite happy with that. I'm quite happy. Is there anything else we could do? What do you think? Let me take a bit of yellow, touch of blue. How about we go up here and we just add little hints of a light just there as well. So I like the way it all kind of merges into one as it goes up. That's quite nice. I kind of like that. I add a little bit just there and a little bit more just back here, disappearing into the depths, to the dark recess of the trees up there. I think that's fine. And there we are. I'm calling this one finished. I'm very happy with this. I think that turned out quite nice. Let me move the camera back and give you a nice big view of everything. And there we are. I think that's quite nice. I'm very happy with that. My friends, thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to frame that and I'll show you what it's like framed in the next video. I hope you've enjoyed. Thank you so much for your support. It's been a pleasure. I'll be back very soon with another tutorial. Thank you so much. Have a lovely day and God bless. Happy painting.